So this one's going to be a little bit tougher because I also want us to keep in mind that when we are talking about affection, giving and receiving physical affection, that there are times where there's trauma involved, where this can be more challenging and need some deeper work. So if that is in fact something that you deal with, it is very important that we have awareness around this, and we don't push ourselves into places we don't feel comfortable. And if there is a need for deeper work around that particular issue, I highly encourage you to, because I am going to be pushing for physical affection, giving and receiving. And if it is not a comfortable space or one that triggers some trauma, I need you to listen to that and be responsible and do something with that. Otherwise, this is a really fun exercise that I am excited to share with you and to talk about. And again, when we think about the second level, which is the fondness and admiration, aka the dating level, if we remember when we were first getting to know one another and dating, it's hard to keep your hands off one another, right? We have all of those pheromones going, and we have, oxytocin that is coming out, and we have, this is new and this is exciting. And we're showing a lot of love through that physical affection. Again, all of that good feeling hormone of oxytocin is being released as we're doing this. So we're like, oh, this feels good, right? And usually that is a time of about 6 months, varies obviously, but that heavy affection early on. And then we often lose it completely. And what often will happen is we become attached and we become committed, and old attachment injuries start to arise, which are often in the form of physical touch, whether we didn't get a lot of it as a kid, maybe we got unwanted physical affection and touch, and it might not be something we enjoy. Now we throw in having children, and that turns into, I am touched out and I want to not ever be touched by anybody else again. Please keep your distance. That can also look like assumption of, if my partner touches me, in his mind, he's instantly going to go to sex. So I will avoid any and all physical touch. I call this the mom elbow, which I get a lot of laughter from in my sessions. So I know it lands and it actually happens very frequently in relationships, which is husband comes home or whatever, sees wife and tries to put arms around wife. Wife instantly puts elbows up. So not even allowing for the hug, for a very small bit of physical affection, because in someone's mind, that is going to lead to this. Why that often happens is because we're lacking so much of the little physical affections, the little hand holding, the little kisses, the little hugs, that we're like, okay, well, we haven't done this thing for so long, so if we hug right now, this is what it's going to mean. Touches my ass, he's going to want to have sex. Now, that's not always what they're thinking. Shockingly. Would they, of course, probably say yes if that was an actual opportunity that could happen? Of course, more likely than not, yes. But it doesn't mean that is go from here to here, that is, causality. We can give the hug, right? We can still give that physical affection of the hug. And a hug can be a hug. A makeout session can be a makeout session. But we got to start talking about this. We got to be like, hey, sometimes I just want to make out and get hot and heavy, and I don't need it to have an orgasm at the end. I don't need to pull my clothes off. I just want to feel a little woohoo, excitement, and walk away. And then I'm excited for you for later, right? How do we build upon that? How do we talk about that? I like to have those moments. I like to feel a little bit of tingliness throughout the day. But if we're not talking about that with each other, we're not saying that, then we're making these assumptions. And then the assumption is, my wife is cold. She doesn't want me to touch her. So much context, so much information, so much story is being missed when that is the assumption that we're making. And this very much happens after kids. So it's like all of a sudden we had kids, and then never again did my partner want to be near me. But did the partner who was feeling rejected ever come to the one who might be feeling overtouched and try to talk to them? Likely no. And that is a very important part of this. We have to be understanding, and we have to check in, and we have to get clarity like, hey, I'm feeling like you're not that into me. I've tried to hug you, I feel like for the last couple months, and I really feel like I'm getting pushed away. Maybe it's got something to do with the baby, and I know you're like constantly nursing. Like, I just need to get clarity though, because I kind of feel like you don't like me right now. If we can hear that and be like, oh my God, I love you so much. And because I'm so confident in our love, I don't feel like haven't had to touch you right now. You're right, I am overtouched, and I probably should have told you this. And so instead of avoiding any and all of your hugs, just letting you know kind of where I am. I mean, yeah, I know I'm a therapist and I do this really good, but like, oh my God, if we can do that, that's huge. It's huge. So it's really, really important that we, whatever stage we are, and again, why this is important that we come back to these things. Where are you in life right now with that? With giving and receiving affection? And how can we be better? And when by better, I just mean we're intentional, more thoughtful, more mindful of what we're communicating, what we're saying, what we're asking for. How as a couple we are working through this, because this will ebb and flow. But when we don't talk about it, I mean, I don't know if the ebb or the flow is better, but the one that's worse stays the longest when we stop talking about it, because we sit in assumption, we sit in hurt feelings, we sit in personalization. They're not doing this because they don't like me. They're not attracted to me. And then I make that a fact, because then I try to hug you and you push me away. Instead of getting clarity, my feelings get hurt, I come away. And then I don't try it again. And if I'm not trying, you're not trying, because you're not communicating to me how overtouched you feel. So then we're not having it. And a marriage isn't like, oh, it's just all sex and we have to have sex to make a healthy marriage. Sex is great. Sex is how we have children. Sex is how we reduce stress sometimes. Sex is a very amazing connecting physical act, but it is not the only kind of affection that we should be giving and receiving in our relationships. Because if we're not having any of the other stuff, like the sex part, it isn't even going to be that good. Maybe. But if I don't get like my snuggles and kisses, then like I'm not that interested in the big package at the end. Like, there's moments that can just be moments. Nice hug. Every time Charlie and I take a minute to hug or kiss, we usually get ew, but we get two little kids that come over and just hug the shit out of us too, because they want to be in that love. And there's a part that's like, get out of here, but like for the God, you see this love being modeled and you want to come put yourself in the middle of it. That's what we want. That's what I want for all of you. I have that in my house, and it's beautiful. I want all of us to have that. I want all of us to have our kids feel safety in that. And yes, they're going to be like gross, but that creates safety. That creates this model of, that is also how we show when we give affection. And when we show love is through affection. And again, they can be small things. Do we hold hands? When we're in bed, are we both just sitting on our phones and watching the TV? That's not connecting. What are we putting in the way of connection, affection, giving and receiving type of connection? What blocks? What distractions? Right? Think about that too. Right? So we're going to write down, what are the ways that we love to give affection? What are the ways that we receive? And we're going to listen to our partner so we can adjust the ways that we give so it matches more in line, or we can talk through the compromise of how to make that more aligned, that we can then give the affection that our partner is craving and desires. I also want you to think about what blocks me. If I had, ideally, this would be fantastic, but time or children or distractions. And instead of it being, well, that's that, okay, well, let's talk about it. How does time get in the way? How much time is really needed? Again, if we're only thinking about, oh, well, if he kisses me, that means we're going to have sex. And if in your mind you're having 2 hour sex, well, congratulations. Because very few of us are. So that is a false belief, probably. And is that even what's being asked? Or are we just assuming? And because we're not having those daily affectionate giving moments, receiving moments, is it at some level like makes sense that that's the expectation? It's like, if we finally actually hug, can we actually have sex? And the major thing, and the reason I want us to write this stuff down, is because it creates an actual conversation that you guys can have and discuss and explore and figure out how to make this work for you. Again, intentionality. Do I feel unloved when I'm not getting affection? How can I feel more secure in the relationship if we're in one of those moments of time where affection isn't coming as frequently? Right? Really put some time and thought into this beyond just even what I've given you. Right? What are the blocks? What's getting in your way? And again, if it's trauma, your partner can't heal the trauma for you. That's got to be healed on your own. So if it is trauma, we need to do something else before we can start figuring out how to make this work and actually feel good and not traumatic or triggering. Right? We want this to feel joyful. We want this to feel mutual. Right? Enjoy. Take your time with this, right? Like, recognize what comes up for you, because sometimes there'll be things that, even if there isn't trauma of, I've heard women say, I don't know, it's just, I'm not interested anymore. Let's talk about that. Let's think about that. Okay. All right, guys, get busy and enjoy.